well on to the next one by Ashmika. So she asks, what mindsets are holding the Singaporean community from creating more sustainable resilience? So she asks, could mental health or education and wealth gaps actually play a role in our current situation? So thanks, Ashmika, for that question. The panelists have any thoughts on this? Quite a big one.
Yeah. all your questions are so lovely and rich that must take it in. Must take a while to take it in. Oh man.
Let me attempt, okay? So I think one of the things that I shared just now is to do for and do with, right? As a society, most of us, or many of us, I wouldn't say most, are comfortable where we are. We have things that have been done for us, things that have been provided. So if you talk about stable housing, education, home health, yes, we've experienced a lot of stress in being able to afford these things. But in a lot of ways, we have not been put in a place where we needed to participate very actively in building. So I'm making very sweeping statements here because there's an assumption here that Singapore is not building a sustainable resilience. The Singapore community is not creating more sustainable resilience. Speaking as a person who's had many opportunities in my life, I did not come from a privileged background, but I had very good opportunities to grow into who I am. And no difficulties as such, but there are people who suffer through many things to overcome things in their life. I think if you are speaking from a perspective of having received, having been supported, then perhaps it is very important to step away from that role of recipient, of being in a comfortable space, and look around. And that's where this resilience comes about for other communities that you can lend your own strength to, right? So what is holding Singaporeans back? I think we are all in a similar, somewhat of a comfort zone. It is shaken now, perhaps through COVID, which is not something that we bargained for, but we don't have as many challenges that we need to face. At least I'm talking about people who are better off. We then have to look at who are the people below the poverty line, the invisible poverty line, who are the people who are being left behind, and see what is it that these communities can achieve as well. So the biggest mindset is this is not about me, that we need to overcome. Everything is about me. Everything that happens in my circle that I'm witness to, I can play a role. So if we begin to step out of that mindset of it's not about me, then perhaps we can be looking at more sustainable resilience.
I think I'm going to connect my answer back to what I said about the oscillating narrative, because I'm not sure we have done a good job with communicating that, you know, from different, let's say, institutions or agencies and all that. And I don't mean government when I say institutions, agencies. I mean also families and all that. In Singapore, when we're trying to deal with certain issues, you get some people who are all very rah-rah cheerleader and like, oh, everything's wonderful, everything's perfect, you just need to work harder. I think that's very toxic, but it's also as toxic as the other one, like, Singapore cannot make it one now, whatever lah, Singapore hates poor people, and that's toxic as well. It's not going to help. But it's so, when you try to bring that narrative together of like, there is an up and down, there is brutal truth that we need to confront, but there's also a lot of great possibilities. Sometimes when you're standing in that middle ground trying to hold that oscillating narrative, you get critics from both ends lah, like, walao, what are you, and I think we need to help each other hold that holistic picture of like, there's a lot of good we still have in our country. There's a lot of good that exists in the government. There's a lot of good that exists in activists. There's a lot of realities of like, that's not working out, man. We need to confront those truths as well. And that's not always comfortable. You know, and that's not always comfortable, but we need to be able to have that conversation. I think if we can help our country as a whole be a lot more resilient, to basically be willing to see the whole picture for each of us and not just fight for our own little picture lah. You know, yeah. Hoping that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you, Xiaowen. I think we will have our final question